Most of us can agree that few things in life are greater than a relaxing holiday surrounded by loved ones. After spending so much time working in our day-to-day lives, spending our free time with the people we care about can be a refreshing experience unlike anything else. However, after the holidays have begun to wind down and we're left relaxing and reflecting on everything that just took place, it's natural to wonder how some of these holidays came to be and why we celebrate them the way we do. For example, has Santa Claus always looked the way he does today? And is he a real person? Why do we dress up in strange costumes on Halloween and ask people for candy? Better yet, what is Valentine's Day? And why do we consider it to be one of the most romantic days of the year? All of these questions and more will be answered in today's video. But before we get started, make sure you hit that like button and ring the notification bell for more videos. Also, be sure to stick around for number 1, as it's one of the strangest holidays in recent history. Santa Claus. When you really think about it, is there anyone else in the world that you would allow to shower your child with presents other than the friendly and lovable Santa Claus? The idea of giving a child you don't know an expensive present may seem a bit strange in modern times. However, Santa Claus is always depicted as having the best of intentions and wants nothing more than to see the happiness on the faces of children around the world. Santa Claus is most often depicted as a large man with a big belly and rosy red cheeks. For the most part, everyone sees him as nothing more than a friendly old man with a gigantic beard that kids love to tug on when they see him at the local shopping mall. This good-natured old man gives a great example for children, as he's always in a great mood and only gives gifts to children who obey their parents and do what they're told. Santa Claus' appearance is rounded out by his big red robe with white trim, and he's most often seen carrying a large bag of toys that are to be delivered to kids across the globe. But how did he end up with this appearance? And where did his red robe, pointy hat, and toy bag come from? Many of you may already know this, but the soda company Coca-Cola is actually responsible for his jolly appearance that's very well known in the Western world. In the early 1930s, Coca-Cola ran one of their most successful ad campaigns of all time when they introduced the modern version of Santa Claus to children and adults around the world. This new depiction of Santa, complete with his iconic red outfit, was a dramatic change from how he'd been depicted in the past. But how did the ad managers at Coca-Cola decide on the color scheme of his clothing? Well, when you really think about it, the answer's quite obvious. When you pick up a bottle of Coca-Cola, what are the main colors you see? Obviously, red and white. Coca-Cola wanted a mascot that would represent their brand in the best way possible. Thus, they decided to use their own iconic color scheme to bring the jolly old man to life. Before Coca-Cola had a hand in revitalizing the appearance of Santa Claus, his appearance was much different. He's almost always been depicted as a friendly man. However, his former appearance was far from friendly, and many children feared him to a certain extent. It's here that the holiday cheer of Santa begins to take a dramatic turn, as Christmas hasn't always been perceived as a time of great joy for children. Instead, just over 100 years ago, many children felt as though Santa in the Christmas season was a time to dread, as many children feared for their lives and, worse yet, their souls. When you look back throughout history, Santa Claus never looked very appealing to children. He was often seen wearing rather drab and disturbing clothing, sometimes even wearing a mask that was very bizarre and downright terrifying. This appearance became commonplace back in the 1880s and 1890s, long before Coca-Cola came into the picture. To make things even stranger, Santa was rarely even described as a human at all. Rather, he was described as a ghostly man who had no flesh or bone. This likely explains how he made his way into the homes of so many children without being detected. If that isn't enough to freak you out, I don't know what will be. However, the story of Christmas Past gets even more mysterious from there. If the ghost of a creepy old man sneaking into your home isn't bad enough, get this. Santa was often accompanied by an even darker and more mysterious man who had the worst intentions for children. These days, if a child acts badly throughout the year, they may be greeted by a lump of coal in their stocking. However, in years past, Santa's buddy, Krampus, may pay the children a visit. He didn't plan on just leaving behind a lump of coal for the children, though. Rather, he wanted to claim the lives of these children and drag their souls down to hell with him to suffer for all eternity. Talk about a bad Christmas experience. I can't imagine anything worse than this. Krampus was most often depicted as being a demonic spirit who was constantly on the lookout for souls to steal and deliver to the Lord of the Underworld. If you live in countries like the United States or Canada, you may have never heard of Krampus, aside from his appearance in a handful of horror films in recent years. Though in many European countries, Krampus' appearance in Christmas culture is still widely recognized, and most people know his story all too well. However, whether or not Krampus has ever truly dragged bad children to hell remains unknown. So be nice. Halloween. If you've lived in the United States or several other Western countries, you probably know everything there is to know about Halloween. However, there's a common misconception that Halloween is synonymous with the Day of the Dead, but that's entirely untrue. Knowing this, we have to wonder, why do people dress up in strange costumes and wander the streets on this particular day each year? It seems fairly unsafe, especially considering that many of these people who dress up are children who willingly accept candy from strangers. In reality, the devils and witches that would supposedly appear on Halloween night all those years ago were not evil spirits themselves, but rather they would supposedly help to drive away the evil spirits that may appear on this particular night. These days, we all try our best to dress up in terrifying costumes to scare our friends and family. However, all those years ago, the creepy figures that would allegedly roam the streets had no ill will at all. Instead, they were sent here to protect us. To really understand the origins of Halloween, we must take a look back in time to a period about 2,000 years ago. It's widely believed that the origins of Halloween can be traced back to a Celtic festival known as Samhain. While this was a much different festival than the Halloween we know and love today, it's believed that Samhain would slowly fade into the background over the years, eventually making way for the more modern Halloween celebrations that we take part in these days. According to history and legend, Samhain marked a specific evening in which believers claimed that a door that would link the living and the dead would appear. It's said that anyone who walked through this gate would be able to mingle with the dead, presumably meeting with their lost loved ones once more. However, there's a darker side of this story as well, as the gate was open both ways. This means that the dead would be able to exit through the gate and make their way into the world of the living as well. Because of this, many of the people who believed in Samhain or followed the stories of Samhain would stay home and lock their doors on this particular night. But this is where things get even creepier. In order to keep the spirits of the underworld happy, there are rumors that people would begin to make blood sacrifices to help appease the god of the underworld so that he wouldn't send his minions to the land of the living and claim the lives of townsfolk. More often than not, these sacrifices would have been animals. However, we don't know for sure if it was only animals who would have been sacrificed on these particular evenings. It was at this point that the beginning stages of the modern version of Halloween would be born. This is because after deciding on a creature that the townsfolk wanted to sacrifice, members of the community would dress up in elaborate costumes, often while wearing animal heads as masks or using the animal's skin as a cloak of sorts. Many people believe that this is where the idea of dressing up on Halloween came from. Who would have thought that more than 2,000 years ago, people were celebrating this bizarre holiday in a strangely similar way? We don't really know how the holiday transformed into what it's become known as these days. However, most historians agree that the origins of Halloween truly do date back to the Celtic festival of Samhain. It would be around this same time that the Romans began to conquer various countries across Europe, leading to Christianity becoming more and more popular, as this religion would often be enforced by the Roman authorities. As a result, the Celtic ways would slowly begin to die off and make room for more traditional Christian beliefs. It's believed that the people who once celebrated Samhain would then have been introduced to a new holiday known as All Saints and All Souls, better known as All Saints' Day. Over the years, these two holidays would essentially merge with one another. The Christian holiday was far less graphic than the former Celtic holiday, but soon details from each of these holidays would make their way into a new holiday that would become known as All Hallows' Eve, or simply the evening before All Saints' Day, though this too began to change over the years, eventually being shortened to just Halloween. As Irish immigrants began to move to the area or mingle with locals, the holiday began to change once more and eventually became the holiday that we all know about today. All those years ago, during Samhain, it would have been popular for those partaking in a sacrifice to light a large campfire during the ritual. These days, the campfire element is still celebrated by many. However, rather than sacrificing a creature to the underworld, most people sit around the campfire and share scary stories. Valentine's Day. When you think about Valentine's Day, you often think about love, chocolate, and spending a romantic evening with a special someone. However, the origins of this holiday were not nearly as peaceful and lovely as this. Historians disagree about when Valentine's Day was first invented. However, most people agree that it likely dates back to a Roman priest named Valentines. This man believed that everyone should have the right to marry whomever they wanted. However, a Roman emperor had just passed a law that would have forbidden certain young men from getting married. In opposition to this, Valentines continued to marry young men and women against the wishes of the local government. People would come to him in secret, and he'd marry them without the government ever finding out. Thus, he became known as a saint among the locals, as he would help people find true love. Another theory is that the holiday dates back to a man known as Valentine von Tierney. This man would have helped Roman prisoners escape captivity and live in peace and harmony once more after being set free. He would release prisoners from their confines against the wishes of the Roman authorities. When they were set free, all of these men would have obviously been eternally grateful for his work. This theory claims that the Christian followers wanted to give Saint Valentine a holiday of his own so that his memory could live on for centuries. Thus, they decided to dedicate February the 14th to him, essentially removing a pagan holiday known as Lupercalia from the calendar. In the end, we really don't know for sure when Valentine's Day began, but these are two examples of possible beginnings that many historians can agree upon. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video and want to see more like it, be sure to hit that like button and ring the notification bell to stay up to date with all of our future uploads. Let us know, what's your favorite holiday? If it's not one of the three we just mentioned, what are the origins of this holiday and why do you love it so much? Share your thoughts in the comments.